Experts are warning up to 400,000 Australians may be struck by a mutant strain of gastroenteritis. Thousands of people have already been laid low by the new virus. It causes acute vomiting and other severe symptoms, and from first-hand experience I can tell you that it was, shall we say, less than delightful. There's no cure and few people are immune. In the UK, it's already forced the closure of schools and hospital wards. Adam Harvey reports.
This wasn't the New Year's camping holiday the Reynolds family had been hoping for.
It's one that we'll remember, that's for sure. Firstly, my son Harry, who's 4, he tripped over a guy rope of the tent that we had just set up and he ended up with a plaster on his arm. The next day, my husband developed tonsillitis and needed to go on to antibiotics.
Then things got really bad.
Unfortunately, I woke up New Year's Day with gastro, vomiting in a tent on a blow-up mattress.
The entire Reynolds family was struck down by a particularly nasty new strain of gastroenteritis.
My daughter was crying in her cot in the tent. Put my hand in to resettle her, however, I put my hand in to vomit. That's when we realised it was contagious.
It's a strain of the Norovirus called Sydney 2012, because that's where it was first identified.
It's very much like your normal gastro, except you'll be expected to vomit more. And that's why it's particularly contagious, because the virus spreads in the vomit, and that's why it makes you really rehydrated, because you're losing fluids from both ends, if you like.
We begin tonight with a health alert, the Norovirus.
It's one of 2 schools that canceled classes today after 120 students called in sick.
The Sydney bug's been sweeping across the Northern Hemisphere. It's struck down over 1 million people in the UK, and they're not happy about it.
Down Chunder. The hellish Norovirus vomiting bug originated in Australia.
It's forced the closure of hospital wards and caused big problems in closed environments like schools and cruise ships.
I mean, people being sick in toilets, in the dining room, in the theatre and all of that, yes, I mean, we saw all of that, but you kind of get immune to it in the end.
Sydney 2012 is a big problem because it's so new.
Well, it's one of the most contagious viruses anyway, so and on top of that, it's a new version of a very contagious virus, so that means a lot of people are going to become infected, because no one at the moment, or only the few people who've been affected, are going to be immune to this thing, and so really it's got a very large population it can infect.
The pandemic will inevitably hit hard in Australia this winter, but some of its victims don't have to wait that long.
That morning, early Sunday morning, I was violently ill, vomiting, diarrhoea. I felt like absolute death. And laid low that day, didn't do much, didn't keep anything down at all, nothing, not even water, nothing was staying down.
Well, I kind of started to get...
For Edwina Considine, the worst of the Norovirus came on the hottest day of the year.
Tuesday came along where it was 35, 38 degrees, and my 15-year-old daughter and I were meeting a friend for lunch, and we got there and I was totally disorientated. I couldn't focus. I didn't even know how I drove. And we were at lunch and Georgie said to me, "You look really, really bad. I think you need to go to hospital." And I said, "You know, I think you might be right." So we went to the hospital and I ended up staying there for 3 days on a drip.
The new Norovirus strain was discovered by researchers at the University of New South Wales. Molecular virologist Peter White has some advice for the coming winter.
Prevention, as I've said, is the best protection against this virus. There's no vaccine, there's no drugs, and so really if you're sick, it's up to you to try not to give it to anyone else. Don't go to work. Try not to vomit in multiple different toilets around the house. You know, quarantine one off for yourself. But it's so contagious, it's really very difficult not to pass on. Certainly don't go to work until a couple of days after you're feeling well.
My turn.
But there's only so much you can do. The Reynolds family knows how to stop the spread of viruses like this, and it's still got them all.
Being a nurse, obviously, hygiene, not sharing water bottles, hand washing was essential. However, it was just so contagious, it went through the whole family.
Adam Harvey reporting.